Good morning. I'm down here where the heifer got into the tub and got killed somehow. I'll put the link at the end of this video. So I'm down here looking at that tub, fixing to start kind of working on it, trying to get it back in position where it's functioning. So let's get after it and get to work. So here's basically what happened on the tub as far as it holding water. You can see maybe that the PVC is showing down here. So this pulled all the way over this valve, or this bulkhead, I think is what they call that. It's supposed to be way up here. So I don't know how I'm going to get that back over it. So what I'm going to do, I brought a reciprocating saw, and I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off. It'll ruin this thing. I won't be able to use it, but I'll be able to pull this tub up off of it, because what I'm going to end up doing with this tub is what I've done with all the rest of them with the PEX. So all I need to be able to get to is that 2-inch PVC line. Perfect. Now all I have to do is lift it off and then figure out how I can seal this hole right here up. So like I said, I knew it was going to ruin this because that PVC was glued into that bulkhead, but the float will still be good. Oh, yeah. That thing wasn't perfectly level, and it was when I started, trust me, but it's so difficult to get a pad level. It just settles. That's why I wanted to utilize that design with that PEX, because I can move this tub and constantly, if I need to, move it, and so it never gives it a chance to develop a waller on the outside of it, and it never gives it a chance to find a softer spot underneath of it. I like what it's doing so far. I've got to work through some issues to keep the cattle off of it, but so far I'm happy with it. We've already had some pretty severe freezes and it didn't affect it at all. So I didn't insulate the PEX at all and it didn't affect it, and it was 10 degrees, maybe 8 degrees, so it was plenty cold. Found it. Well, I finally got to it. You know, we're here in southern Oklahoma. Freeze line is 18 inches on the worst freeze in record history, probably. Right about there is 18 inches. Good night. That's what happens when you got a big dozer and a big ripper on the back and you're putting line in. When the ripping gets easy, the line gets deep. The problem is that's a pain in the rear if you're digging it out with a skid steer. So I'm hoping I can go in there, and you can see it broke right here at the threads. Basically, there's a little bit of thread showing right here. I'm hoping I can go in and saw this maybe with a little hand metal saw, so it takes real small chunks, and then just take a screwdriver and a hammer and just kind of pick it out without screwing up the threads on the shutoff. So I'm ready to go to town, I guess, and get the materials, get the stuff I need. I'm also going to get another tub, I think, for that other spot that we've been working on. It's going to be quickest, just go ahead and get another tub, get it set up, and go. Bam! My battery went kaput, and I'm a long ways from the battery getting spot, and I didn't want to go back and get a battery. So this is the next day. I brought my tools down to kind of show you how I did that. If you remember from the previous video, this threaded male adapter was broke off almost at the deal. There was a little piece sticking up here, but it wouldn't have mattered either way. So what I did, and what we've done before on that, is I took a little piece of jigsaw blade, and I just went like this. I went this direction, very gently, while I was waiting to get down a little bit. I didn't want to feel metal. I didn't want to hit the metal threads. So I got it pretty deep. Probably looking at this piece right here, I probably got it about that deep right there. So I didn't go all the way through it, but I went quite a bit through it. And then simply take a pick and you kind of get on the edge, or if you need to go in and get a corner, you go in and get a corner and hammer it real gently, and then it just breaks out. Notice I did it in 2 spots, so it was easy to break out in half. And then let me show you what I got then. I don't have a tap. I don't have a tap for a 2-inch line to redo the threads. So I brought a 2-inch plug, or this is a adapter. Goes from 2 to, I'm guessing that's 1 1/4 inch. So I just ran it in and screwed it in order to make sure those threads were good before I used PVC on it. Because, you know, if they're not good, they'll eat PVC up. You won't be able to tell maybe that it doesn't have a good connection, but if you just run some galvanized or something like that through it, that'll tell you. So anyway, I ran that in here and made sure the threads were good, and then I started putting my rig together. And I did this, glued this and this at the truck, screwed it in, and then I started from back here, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to end up right here with my last one, because I knew I had enough play in this pipe where I could lift it and move it side to side, and it was just some simple measurements, and I was able to pull it over here and put it in, and then pull it back over there and glue it, and then shove it in. I'm going to let it set up for a little while before I turn it on. I don't know how long you're supposed to let it set. It's probably on the box. You know, for years we did PVC, and the guy that taught me, was he was a cowboy, and the way he did PVC, sorry, I've got gum in my mouth. It keeps me hydrated. Lisa said, spit your gum out when you're talking, but hey, when it's hot, and I know it's January, but it's hot, I need some hydration. So this cowboy, he taught me to do the PVC by cleaning it real good, then putting glue on both surfaces, and then running that thing in and turning it back and forth and spreading it real good with the glue, like this, and then push it in and let it stay. And if you know anything about PVC, that's not what you want to do. Matter of fact, on the can it says, push it in and turn a 1/4 turn and hold. And I didn't know that until I was watching a Sure Enough plumber one time work on a line out at our place. And I said, how come you're doing it like that? And he said, well, it says on the can. When all else fails, read the directions. Hopefully this is going to hold. I do not want to have to dig this sucker up again. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to pick stuff up, and maybe by the time I get stuff picked up, I'll be able to turn it on. Okay, here we are the next morning. I chickened out. I didn't turn it on. We're going to check it here. We'll give it plenty of time to dry. I'm turning it on full blast. This line gets a lot of pressure at the bottom of the hill. There's about a 100-foot drop from up on the hill where well is, so by the time it gets down here, it's got a lot of pressure. Okay, we got the air out. I guess we'll go ahead and... She's a running. Open her on up here. Looks good. Yay. Hey, it's starting to sprinkle. I better go. I might get wet. I've got a slight circulation problem. There's only one solution. This is the other tub that I'm going to replace. I went ahead and went and got a new one. You can see what I normally do. That's a 3/4 drain, 3/4 inch drain. And I normally carve out this side, the poly part, where I can get a 3/4 inch male adapter in there, and then I work from there. And I do the same on the back side. But that's going to be a little bit of an issue with draining it. It's just going to cause me to have another step when I need to drain it and move the tub, which was the whole reason for this new method, because I wanted to be able to move the tubs because the cattle waller out around the sides, and I wanted to be able to move it when that happened and fill the old spot in, let it settle in, and then eventually I'll move back to that spot. So instead of using this one like I normally do down here at the cutoff, I went ahead and got, I think they're called a bulkhead. And this is it. I've already assembled this one. And what's going to happen is I'm going to drill a hole, and this will go through there just like those great big ones did in the bottom of the tub, where when we found that heifer in here, they had mashed it down past the bulkhead. That's why it was running over. It was a 2-inch bulkhead. And they had mashed it down below that. So this is going to be on the side, and it's going to go in right about here. And then this nipple that's going to go to the PEX line, I can adjust it and turn it down and get it on the ground as quickly as I can. That's one more thing that'll prevent cattle from tearing it up, if I can get that thing flush on the ground. And eventually I'll probably even just throw a little dirt on it as I set one of these up, so it'll be insulated from freeze, and it'll also hopefully be insulated from cattle. So that's going to kind of be the new design. This will be the first one that I've done exactly like this. So we'll see how this bulkhead works. I don't know that it's going to be as stout as this thing over here. You can see that this one has metal in it. So the metal is backing it up a little bit as far as strength. So it may be a mistake doing it that other way. But if this bulkhead does pull through, I can always reset it, reattach it, put a washer in there, and then just cap that 3/4 off, and so it'll just be like a plug. Okay. Kind of hand tight. Little tip I got from plumbers, a plumber. This is your cement, your PVC cement. When you get done with it, turn the lid on tight as you can, then turn it upside down. It'll keep it airtight better, last longer. Okay, that one's on. All right, let's put the crimp on it. Crimped it. I'm gonna make sure this one is still on. Yep. Okay, there's 2. So now I'm going to tighten it back up. And it's just a hand tight. There's not a lot of pressure on this thing. Now my float will go in right there. And that's it. Now all we have to do is turn the water back on. I'll probably wait a little while before I do that. A quick fix for those of you that have never seen me do this. This is the first year that I've done it. And it kind of stems as a solution from this wallering out around the tubs. If you get a rain, or I've even seen the cattle come up here and slosh the water trying to get new fresh water to run in and get water out here, and then they just waller it out. Then it's not long before the calves can't get a drink, and for sure goats can't. So my solution was I wanted to try 3/4 inch PEX and see if it would keep up with our herd, and it does. So we've got this on here, and then we'll be able to move this thing a little this way, a little that way, and as it wallers out, we'll move it, we'll fix the waller, give it a chance to set up, give the cattle a chance to pack it, and then we'll either move it back or we'll move it on around, but eventually we'll move it back. But it just gives us somewhere to go with it where we're not having to constantly take the tub off, fill all this junk in, level it out, reset it, and then you get this junk. It is difficult to set a tub. It just is, unless you have the right kind of dirt, and we don't. So that's our solution. It's working well so far. I've had one hiccup on one of them where I originally put, instead of having a 90 right here, I did a straight up, and then I went with the pipe over this, and then I put wire around it. Well, what do cattle do with wire if it's not hot? They tear it down. So they tore it down, and then they hit this somehow and didn't break it, but it's leaking right here, so they loosened it somehow right here. So water's spraying out right here. So that's why I went with the 90 on this one. I've got it more ground level. As soon as I get done doing this right here, I'm going to go ahead and throw shovels of dirt over this right here to kind of close it up, and then we'll be good, hopefully. That's it on tubs. Well, I got to cover one up still, but that's more or less it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you next week.